Welcome. This is what is happening on the Sun today, the 8th of September 2011. Since the last time we met, we've had another X flare, and as I record this, there's a mid-level M flare underway. But before I get to all of that, our trivia question. 45 years ago this day, NBC premiered the first of a series that became a cult favourite. It was produced by Desilu Productions. The trivia question is, what was the name of that TV series? The answer will be given at the end. As I said in the introduction, we've had another X flare, very similar in nature to the last one. It was also from the same region, region 1283. We've also had 3 C flares. In the 1-minute time resolution data from the X-ray monitor on GOES, you can see that this flare reached the X2 level as well. So let's take a look at the various regions and see what's going on here. Region 1277, which was in the southwest, disappeared overnight, leaving us with just 3 officially numbered regions on the disk at the current time. Region 1283 is the one that produced the X flare. It has increased in area by about 15% in the last 24 hours. Comparing yesterday's image to today's, we can see that the main spot seems to have rotated slightly clockwise. The large spot to the north has separated from the penumbra and has moved further east, and there's a new spot developed to the north and west. Also, the trailer part of the region now has a complex of small pores, whereas before it was just a couple of small spots. While this rotational and translational motion continues and there is growth in the region, we're likely to continue to get large flares from it. Region 1287, near disk centre in the south, has been fairly stable, although it does seem to have lost some of the spots in the trailer part of the region. And the new region coming over the northeast limb, region 1289, seems to have grown by 45% in area. However, I think a lot of that is due to a change in foreshortening. However, it's come far enough onto the disk that we can see a lot more about its structure now. There are 2 large leader spots in a single penumbra, followed by a few small satellite spots and a large area of bright plage. So to summarise, in the last 24 hours the Sun has been very active. Now let's try to pull all this together by looking at the evolution of these regions using the white light and magnetic images from the HMI instrument on Solar Dynamics Observatory. And here again I think the most profitable area to follow is region 1283. And see if you can see the spot motion and rotation. You may want to take the images into full screen mode to see the details. Next let's turn to the transition region and coronal movies to see what's going on there. In the transition region we see that both the X flare and the subsequent C flare produce quite lively ejecta from the Sun, as you can see from these still frames that I took from the movie. In the low temperature corona we can see that there's a bright set of post-flare loops formed after the X flare, and I've extracted a still picture of that as well. And here is an unobstructed view of the multi-temperature coronal movie that shows the X flare, again courtesy of our friends at spaceweather.com. Needless to say, with all these large flares with ejecta, we're going to have quite some spectacular coronal mass ejections, and that is indeed the case when you look at the data from the SOHO coronagraph. But to determine whether they are coming towards us, we need to look for what they call halo events, i.e. coronal mass ejections that seem to cover the entire field of view. So again, using the coronagraphs on board the Stereo A spacecraft, we can see whether these events are heading towards the Earth. They seem to be heading well north, so that means at very worst we're probably just going to clip the edge of one of these events. So they're not going to produce very strong geomagnetic storms. Although the latest X flare produced a much faster CME, nearly 800 km per second. From the ACE data we can see the status of the solar wind. We can see that temperature has dropped quite significantly, as has the velocity. However, the density has remained very, very low. The high energy electron flux has remained at high levels for the last 24 hours. And you can see that we've had 2 proton events. One from the M flare from a couple of days ago and one from yesterday's X flare. But interestingly enough, today's X flare did not produce a proton event. I wonder why. The auroral zone seems very quiet, and as does the KP index, varying between 0 and 2. So in summary then, the X-ray background has dropped to the B3 level, the sunspot number has dropped to 60, the radio sun intensity is at 113, the solar wind speed has dropped to 350 km per second with a density of almost 0, and geospace conditions are rated as quiet. My 24-hour forecast is that C flares are likely, M and X flares are possible, the sunspot number should stay low, coronal mass ejections are likely, solar wind speed should remain low, and there's a likelihood of a geomagnetic storm sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. From the composite coronal image we can see there's nothing due back over the east limb for the next 2 or 3 days. If you would like to find out more about what's happening on the Sun, follow some of the links in the description box below. If you want to see earlier editions of the Sun Today or some of my other videos, go to my channel, they're all listed there. If you want to keep informed about what's going on with the Sun, you'll be welcome to subscribe to my channel. And the answer to this trivia question? The TV series that started 45 years ago today on NBC, which was originated by Desilu Productions, was Star Trek. So that's it for today. Keep safe. Bye for now.